Red One's first camera we built, right? And it is an amazing camera in and of itself. It shot many, many big movies that everyone knows. But the second camera we built, which is the Epic, is far more advanced than the Red One in many ways. The first thing is the resolution of the camera. So the Red One camera is a 4K sensor. It creates a resolution on par with 35 millimeter film. It is about the same measured scientific visual quality as 35 millimeter film, which is why when you watch those clips on the giant movie screen here, it looks like a movie. It doesn't look like TV because it is of the resolution of motion picture making. The Epic camera actually exceeds the image of 35 millimeter film, which is why there are so many big movies now that could afford shooting film. Like a lot of these movies could easily afford shooting 35 millimeter, no problem. But they're making a conscious choice to shoot Epic because they want the image fidelity, the image clarity, and the workflow to deliver. And whether that's 2D or 3D is the same choice. Like there's, you know the filmmaker Robert Zemeckis, right? Forrest Gump, all the Back to the Future movies. He's a really big filmmaker. He could shoot any format he wants. He chose to shoot epics on his latest movie called Flight. It's a 2D movie with Denzel Washington. It's an action movie, airplanes and all kinds of stuff. It's fantastic looking. There's a movie that's being shot now down in the South, again, you know, talking about severe conditions in Louisiana, United States, called Ender's Game, by a very, very well-respected older DP named Don McAlpine, who shot, you can look up his resume, he shot some of the biggest movies in the world, and he's now shooting epics on this movie. And that's another 2D movie, not 3D. So I can give you lots and lots of examples if you want. Some of the other really interesting projects going on is Bob Lerman, who's the visionary director behind like Moulin Rouge. He is directing a brand new Great Gatsby in 3D, which has some of the most marvelous images I've ever seen on any camera ever made. And of course in the theaters right now is the Spider-Man movie. I think it's potentially my mission to debunk that myth every day of my life, because that's, next to the heating myth, that's probably the most popular myth, is that the images are spectacular, there's no question, but the post-production is difficult and maybe slightly expensive, right? So nothing could be further from the truth. It's actually the opposite of what you have heard. The Red cameras, the Epic cameras, and the Scarlet cameras have the most efficient, most logical, most cost-effective post-production workflow of any camera, regardless of the resolution and the quality of the camera. Better than film, much easier, much quicker. Part of it is because we use computing engines, very mainstream computing systems, to do every step of the workflow. So there are no very expensive exotic machines required to open files, to review files, to look at files, to grade files, and to deliver them to the big screen. All you need is a little bit of education and a little bit of training on the right way to do this, and everything becomes remarkably simple and remarkably cost-effective. So if, you know, to sort of answer the question in a different way, if that rumor was actually true, all of the small independent movies that have been made on the Red One over the last 5 years simply wouldn't have been created because they wouldn't have had the money. They would have stopped, or they would have moved to a different camera. A case in point, I'll point out two cases in point. Two very, very modest budget movies. One is a movie that was done a couple years back called Winter's Bone. You saw some of the clips in the reel that we showed you. It was a small independent movie that went to the Sundance Film Festival. No one knew about this movie. It was the hit of the Sundance Film Festival. It won the Sundance Film Festival, went on to be nominated for Academy Award. If you knew what the budget was for this movie, you would be shocked at how low it was. Now, it's mostly natural lighting. It's mostly natural sets, right? So they didn't have to spend a lot of money on that. But the actors are amazing, professional, high quality. The story is amazing. The direction is amazing. And it's all shot on these Red cameras and pushed through a workflow that they were able to afford and extremely affordable. The other example is an Argentinian movie. Now, I'm pointing out movies that are not Hollywood movies for a specific reason here, right? Because these are movies done on extremely modest budgets. An Argentinian movie called El Secreto de los Ojos, which means The Secrets in Their Eyes. A wonderful story, a wonderful movie, beautifully photographed. The director bought his own Reds and did his own post-production through a small entity that they set up in Argentina, very independent, went on to win an Academy Award for Best Foreign Picture. It's remarkably good filmmaking. So these are two examples, and the director told me without the red and without the workflow associated with the red, he simply would not have been able to accomplish this movie. There are movies done on such a small budget, it is shocking. And one of the amazing things about the camera is we make no delineation between a movie that may have a very small budget to a movie that has the biggest budget in the world, like The Hobbit. So The Hobbit is shooting with 60 of these epic cameras, right?
Well, we know as far as the main feature films they'll be coming out this year. I know 10 that are shooting, and these are the big budgeted movies. The Epic actually has gone on almost every single Hindi film shoot that I know of for two reasons. It's the only camera at 5K that shoots a very high frame rate. So we use a lot of slow motion in our, even in the South movies and in the Hindi films. So whenever you want to do a high frame rate, they call the Epic. And we do find out that the moment they start shooting with the Epic, it stays because of its compact design. So it's very easy to put it in positions that a cameraman like to do. Commercials, regional cinema, a lot. I think the maximum, it's very interesting. One of our biggest clients is in Calcutta, and all of the Bengali films are being shot on the Epic. And I was told that there is now a talk about a 3D Bengali film, which is affordable today because of the cameras. A lot of regional cinema all over India is being shot with the Epics. A lot of documentaries that are made on international levels, they have identified the camera. There's a vendor in Delhi who owns our cameras, and he supplies regularly to, whenever BBC comes down to India to do a documentary, it's used those cameras. He's actually got a very interesting idea. He shoots a lot of wildlife and natural photography, and he wants to use a future product of ours, a 4K projector, and go to schools and show these wildlife films at 4K to these kids. I'd say, we don't have an exact record, but I'd say in the last 3 years, if I just count the number of cameras we've sold, I wouldn't be surprised if we have 300 projects which are basically feature films, documentaries, television series. Another interesting side note, I think television is just getting into HD in India. But usually when they start a serial, they'll do a promo or a song or the title sequence. All of them are shot on an Epic or a Red one. All of them. So I've had these debates with channels that say, it'll take time to convert to HD, and then I ask them, well, what did you use to shoot your promo? And it'll be a Red one or an Epic.